Introduce to you a Grand Ole Opry legend, an American classic I call a country music treasure, Miss Jeannie Seely. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Sorry I'm a little bit late here. I got sidetracked.
No problem, ma'am. No problem at all. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on. How you holding up, ma'am, through all this pandemic stuff?
Well, you know what? My closets have never been this clean since the flood we had 10 years ago.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I don't think you've probably been off the road this much in your career.
No, I have not. And truthfully, I am enjoying some of the time, more time with friends and family, and like you say, catching up on projects that we never have time to do when we're traveling so much. So it's been a blessing in one way and a curse in another.
Right. Sometimes you want to put a couple curses on it for sure.
Yeah, it's taken a tremendous toll on our industry for sure.
Oh yes, ma'am, without a doubt, and I know that the country music community, even the music community in a whole, is a very tight knit group, and I state this wholeheartedly to every talent that we have on the Lifebox Media Channel. That look, not everybody's independently wealthy, has those big Justin Bieber contracts. Nothing against Justin; he's a great kid, but you don't play, you don't get paid. It's not like the old days where record money's flying in off the shelves everywhere. So please, everybody, go check out everybody, including Miss Jeannie Seely's merchandise, buy their music until they can get back out on a full tour. Please make sure to check out everything they're doing.
Oh, well, I appreciate you saying that. And a lot of people don't realize all the jobs that are spin-offs of ours, like our musicians, the bus drivers, the buses aren't running. They're not using the fuel. They're not using the garages for service. We're not using the makeup artists and caterers, sound people. It just goes on and on. There's so many down that chain that are employed by our industry.
Yes,
and they
ma'am.
are suffering tremendously.
Yes, ma'am. That's why, obviously safely, but that's why everybody can't wait to get back and, spinning their wheels besides being at home. Because, all the way down to the parking guy at the arena, to the gimmick table, the merchandise table, to whatever, hot dog guy, whatever.
Yeah.
Now, good question, ma'am. I'll ask you with that. Is that now? So obviously, I know you've been keeping busy with with going on through this. But I'm going to go back just a little bit. What got you interested in being an entertainer?
Oh my goodness! I knew at 8 years old what I wanted to do and where I wanted to do it. So I was one of the lucky ones that knew early on what I wanted to do, and though I had to find a way to make a living until that could happen, other than doing that, I never steered very far from the path of my dreams, and I'm so glad that I didn't. And I encourage anybody, just keep following your dream. It's just, there's a way to get there. There's a level to get there. I had a friend tell me once early on, I was very young, said, what do you want to be? And I said, I want to be a singer. And he said, then sing. And it doesn't matter where you do it. If you do it in church or just friends or local things, then you're a singer.
Yes, ma'am. I love that. That's wonderful advice. Who are some of your influences as a young girl growing up that you wanted to be like at that time?
Well, I didn't have a lot of role models when you consider, I just turned 8. I grew up in the early childhood was during World War II.
Yes, ma'am.
And I remember we listened to English Tub, and I loved little Jimmy Dickens. I thought he was just wonderful. We just didn't have that many females. Kitty Wells was there, early 50s. Excuse me, let me get a sip here.
Yes, ma'am. What was it like so many years later? It's funny, I want to get back to that, but that you become friends with like little Jimmy Dickens and you perform with people like that who you admired as a young girl yourself.
Yeah, it was wonderful to get to meet my heroes. But to answer the other question, beyond that, in the 50s, you know, that's why I had a lot of influence, because we had the hit parade back there, Joe Stafford, Patty Page.
Yes, ma'am.
And Teresa Brewer, and then, of course, then the McGuire sisters, and a lot of the pop artists, you know, I got a lot of influence from too. And then by that time in the 50s, Gene Shepard was coming along, later 50s, Jan Howard, and then early 60s, Patsy Cline. So, and a little Brenda Lee along the way, too. I remember the first time I saw her on the Red Foley show, and she was just a kid, and I remember being thrilled, saying, you know, that just showed me that you could be that. You could do what I wanted to do. So, and I'm so proud to call Brenda close friend these days. It's just amazing.
That's incredible, and it's funny because then, like you said, there wasn't a lot of women out there in country music on the charts and that kind of thing as you were growing up. So I love the idea that, you know, and you're one of the people that laid the way along with everybody you mentioned, and you did crossover things too back before it was popular.
Right. In the early days, you kind of had to, and then too, working in nightclubs, you had to do a variety of music. So, you know, that always been. It's just like on my new CD, my new album, Don Cusic said I want to do an old pop song that nobody would expect you to do. And I said, I don't have to look for one. I know exactly what I want to sing. And that's why I recorded Teach Me Tonight. My first earliest remembrances of that song was the DeCastro sisters. And then later, the McGuire sisters had a big hit on it. And I think maybe Joe Stafford might have had a record on it,
yes,
too.
Ma'am.
So, yeah, those early influences came back. It came in hasty on this new project.
I love that, and congratulations for that. I mean, I'm looking at, you know, I was just checking over, you know, and I've been a fan for a long time, so it's truly a pleasure. And I've met you a few times at some events and things, but you know, the hello Hollywood, hello, it's nice to see you type things, but I mean, and I love the way that you are with your fans, and you are with, and the respect you get from your colleagues, and that's why it's funny with your new album. CD album, I'm old, I'll say, you know, however you want to call it. You know, you have a lot of people on there that seem to, you signed right on, and you're doing this mixture. So can you tell us a little bit about this?
Well, I mentioned to you earlier I was late getting to the interview because I got sidetracked, and the person who sidetracked me was Rhonda Vincent. So blame her for my being late. But, yeah, I'm so happy to have Rhonda singing with me on this album. She, about a year ago, she recorded a song that I wrote with Bobby Tomberlin and Aaron Enderlin. And Rhonda took it all the way to #1 in the Bluegrass chart, and I was thrilled. I'd never had a record in the Bluegrass chart before, so that was a special treat. Rhonda and her husband are just real good friends of Jean's and mine, and the last couple of years we've spent a lot more time together. So anyway, she called a while ago and making plans. We're cross-promoting on a lot of our stuff now, too. She's very tech-savvy, so I'm trying to learn from her. She's my new little sister at the Opry, and I am so thrilled about that, too.
I love that. Congratulations. Yeah, she's on our list to reach out to be on the show. So that I love hearing that. And yeah, you have a lot of people on here, I mean, that are on this album. Talk to us a little bit about putting together this album.
Well, of course, Bill Anderson has just been one of my best friends for so many years. He's just the most phenomenal songwriter I know.
Yes, ma'am.
And but at the Opry, he and I have talked about, we've kind of gotten even closer through the years as we've lost so many of our peers at the Opry from our era.
Yes, ma'am.
So Bill and I just kind of get closer, I think, because of that. But on the Country Family Reunion road shows that we used to do, he and I would do a duet on the song he wrote with Roger Miller called When Two Worlds Collide.
Yes.
It was just something to add a little more, an extra dimension to our shows by putting us together, which people hadn't seen. And so anyway, I love this song. I thought, well, we've never recorded that. This is a good opportunity to do that. I'm very proud of that. We really are happy about that. Another unique thing on the album is Waylon Payne. Waylon, of course, is the son of Dottie Payne, who played guitar with Willie Nelson for 35 years. That was there when I was doing some shows with Willie way back. And his mother, of course, is Sammy Smith, who was a friend of mine. So I had recorded Old Flames Can't Hold a Candle to You with Jody Payne on an album he was doing years ago. And so Waylon was on the Opry one night, and he said, would you come out and sing that song with me like you did with Dad? So I did, and I was listening to the SiriusXM playback on the way home, and I thought, oh, that's a pretty good sound, and what a unique opportunity. I wanted to pull in somebody from the next generation, if you will, or second generation even, and how unique that was to have Waylon be a part of this.
I love that. That is fantastic. And you also have Miss Lorrie Morgan on it, and Vince Gill, and Willie Nelson, and Mr. Ray Stevens, Steve Wariner. This is an incredible put together. I mean, you couldn't ask for better on this. I mean, because you got several different generations here, so you cover everybody.
Yeah, and the great thing about this too, that's so funny, somebody said you put on all the heavies in it, and it just hit me. I thought, these are all my friends. How lucky am I to call these people all my friends? Well, we were listening to That's How I Roll and saying, this needs somebody a little bit with a rowdy edge to do this. And we thought, who has more of a rowdy edge beside me than Lorrie Ford?
Right.
So it was so fun. I told her and I said, would you want it? She said, yeah. And I said, well, I can send you a track to see if you like the song. She said, it doesn't matter. I want to do it. And of course, it's been a joy for me to watch Lorrie grow up, because I got to the Opry in time to know her dad, George Morgan, and I was a big fan of George Morgan going all the way back too. So then to watch her grow up on the Opry stage there and backstage and then become a member, she's always been very special to me, and I love our friendship. And so anyway, at the end of that recording, you know, she said, I'm just here to please the Queen. And I said, oh, please leave that on the record. So they did.
That is wonderful. I mean, the respect that's given. I've been so blessed to have some wonderful, wonderful legends on here, including yourself. And I love the legitimate respect that people have when they come out. And they show, you know, I just had John Barry on yesterday, and I told him how when people come out in the country music world and they stand beside each other in certain things at a phone call. At a phone call, hey, I'm working on this, and yes, okay, and you with this. You had this, and I sit there and said, wow, and I was going to joke with you and say, you know, you weren't going to, couldn't you get any big stars, but you already got me with all the heavy hitters, so you kind of stole my thunder in a great, wonderful way, and I loved it, so, because you just slammed it with home run hitters.
Well, you know, John Barry is a wonderful guy, too. If we were all so thrilled to be able to call on those friendships and to pull everybody together to do a fundraiser for John with the staggering medical bills and being out of work and all while he was battling cancer.
Yes, ma'am.
And to see him come through and so strong and so good. And somebody just posted some pictures from that event here a week or so ago, and it just thrilled me again to be a part of that and to be, like you said, I didn't know who was going to be on the show when I went down there. I kept looking up and seeing one more and two more, and Trish and Garth come in. I'm like, are we just blessed to be in this business that we're in and be able to call on each other and everybody be there? That's just a comfort.
Yes, ma'am. And the idea that with this album coming out and touching numerous decades and people from different areas of country music, I think that is something that even with your last album out, you just touch so many different generations that you bring people that maybe aren't as familiar with some of the talents from 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, that you bring them, you're bringing them current today, right now, which puts them in the mix along with keeping yourself current. I think that's great. And I think it's a necessity. And I think that these songs should be on any country music radio show today, any country music show, because you've made things current.
Well, I was very proud. I thought the album sounded very good. It is so one of these people, and of course, I just, it's not a lot of young people fault. I hear people put them down and say, well, these young people just don't know, they don't know. Well, maybe it's not their fault, they haven't been shown it. So every time I have the opportunity to share some of the music of my era with the current people, I like doing that, and I'm so proud of a lot of the young, especially the young women. I've kind of focused more in on the young women coming up, and we'd like to do something in the future with them. But to watch some of the young talent coming up and listen to their songs, it is just amazing, some of the songs being written. Vincent Andress is one with her song, More Hearts Than Mine. If you think there aren't any good songs being written, you need to listen to the lyrics to that.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And that brings me to a question I asked all my singer-songwriters, and you, I'm going to ask this. So do you all of a sudden, when you want to sit down and write, is it because the spirit gets you, or because, you just take notes here and there? What inspires you to write? What's your deal?
Usually, back when I was writing a lot, the ideas would just come. And sometimes I didn't have any idea where it came from. Other times I'd read something or hear something and it would strike a chord. I think there's a song in that somewhere. And, but I had never set a writer appointment like all the writers work today.
Right.
And I was intimidated about doing it because I thought, I know your creative mind will work 2 months ago or from now, at 2 o'clock. But Aaron Enderlin and Bobby Tomberlin just kept coaxing me to write with them. Said, you can't be intimidated around us. So finally, when I had the idea for the song Like I Could, I called them and said, y'all like this idea? And they're like, yeah. And I said, all right, let's try this writer appointment that you all do. And if I get there, my brain just dumps and doesn't think of anything. At least open up the idea to the meeting. So it was about 6, 7 weeks out before we could get together. And when we did, the song just came together probably about an hour. And that's the one that Rhonda took to the top of the bluegrass chart.
So now, how are you now with the idea of sitting down? If I say, okay, Tuesday, Miss Seeley, we're sitting down and we're writing a song. Are you more comfortable with scheduling it now that you kind of, got your feet wet?
Yeah, I want to do that again. I haven't had a chance because with this album coming out, I've been doing a lot of interviews. Thank you, by the way, for offering to do this with me.
A true
pleasure. We've been doing a lot of interviews, and there's so many more Zoom meetings and interviews and just a lot of things that I've never done before, and I think a lot of the other people have done it either. So with the downside of this pandemic, there's been an upside too. Some of us have been dragged into technology whether we wanted to or not. And so we're learning to do more, and by doing that, we're actually reaching more people than we were when we were on the road.
Yes, ma'am. And in some ways, I definitely agree with that. And by the way, congratulations on Not a Dry Eye in the House with a duet with Willie Nelson. A fantastic, fantastic song. How'd that come about?
Well, Dallas Wayne has gotten to be a really close friend of mine. Since we're both with Willies Roadhouse, we got to know each other better. And I heard this song that Dallas wrote that he recorded several years ago. Just knocked me out the way that it's written, like in theatrical terms, but turned around to your personal situation. So I loved the song and wanted to record it. And then when Willie agreed to do a song with me, which I was absolutely thrilled, and I have to tell you, but we were getting close to being done. We'd made out a list of everybody and everything. All of a sudden, I was washing dishes after dinner one night, and I told my husband, I said, Gene, I'm on Willie's Roadhouse. I've been friends with Willie Nelson since 1963. I didn't even invite him to be on this album. So I went straight to the phone and he said, well, I know he's going to want to do it. So anyway, I could just hear Willie and me doing this song. And it just seemed like the perfect match. I've never believed that a duet had to be his line, her line. Her side of the story or whatever. I didn't think it had to be that. And so anyway, we sent the track to Willie. I loved what Dallas Wayne said about it when he heard it. I was so excited. I played Dallas from the studio. He said, I love what you guys did on this. He said, it sounds like an intimate conversation between two old friends. And I said, well, I guess that's what we are.
I'll agree with that. I'll second that. It definitely does, and that's out now, and everybody can go buy it right now. And I strongly suggest they do because, again, it's something that makes you feel nostalgic, but brings you current and contemporary as well. So I like that, and by two legends. So I love that part. Now, I do want to bring up a couple things to you. Number one, you have a show on SiriusXM Radio on Sundays with Seeley. Tell us a little bit about your show.
Well, I was absolutely shocked and thrilled when they called me and asked me if I would be interested in doing an air personality shift. And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. I never thought about it, but yeah, I love Willie's Roadhouse, and that would be pretty cool to be a part of it. I actually auditioned without knowing it. They had asked me to speak at a roast of Charlie Moss. It was a fundraiser for Music Health Alliance here in town. So I had really fired some good shots at Charlie, and of course he was there. And so he would every now and then he'd holler up a comeback to whatever I said, and that I was able to fire another one back at him. And the SiriusXM executives were there, and heard all of this, and I'd never met any of them, so I didn't know who they were. I didn't know they were there. But anyway, Charlie and Dallas both had been talking to them about me, and so they said, if she can come back with answers that quick and that creative, then yeah, we need her on SiriusXM. So that's how my audition went.
Oh, I love
without
that.
even knowing it. Yeah.
Yeah, that truth is stranger than fiction, right?
Right. So anyway, they decided my air shifts would be noon to 4 Eastern time, and we were, what do you want to call your show? And I said, gee, I don't know. Let me think about it. We did a few really, not a name at all. They would just say, coming up, Jeannie Seeley at such and such. And this friend of mine, Ruth Belton, started posting on Facebook. She posted, she said, well, I've got a fresh pot of coffee, my Sunday newspaper, and my computer set with my JBL speakers turned on. I'm set for another Sunday with Seeley. And it just kind of had a good ring to it. So I called them and said, what do you think about this? And they all loved it. So that's how the show got its name.
That is awesome, and thank you for sharing that. That is great. And I suggest everybody to go check it out on Sirius Radio, Willies Roadhouse, Sundays with Seeley. You said 12 to 4, ma'am?
12 to 4 Eastern time. And it's on channel 15. And what I try to do, a lady told me early on, I thought this was so interesting. I get a little more leeway because it's a weekend show, and Sundays are a more relaxing day, so I don't have to be quite up on all the latest everything like the guys do. And this lady said, I love on your show that you talk about personal things. Don't just talk totally about the music business. And they all joked about, I was putting out my fall decorations last year, and I said, well, I've started on them. I don't have everything out yet, but I've started decorating. I said, so far all I have is my pumpkin wearing a ball. It does. That was the kind of thing. So anyway, when she said that, I thought, well, for sure. I mean, they don't need to hear all of this music business. They want to hear what we're doing, but they also want to hear the side they can identify with. So I started focusing on that, and especially since we've been quarantined in and doing my shows at home, people send me little funny things that I share on the show too, which hopefully gives everybody a little laugh. So I'm enjoying that part of it.
I love that, Miss Seeley. That is fantastic. Now, question, I'm going to ask you that. Away from music, now, as far as the idea of, have you, since you've been home so much, even though you're working very hard, what's your guilty pleasure? Are you and your husband enjoying Netflix or Hulu or movies? What's been you guys' guilty pleasure?
Well, actually, we've been outside more. I have a cottage right off the bank of the Tomberlin River. I downsized the big farmhouse I had out in Hendersonville for 30-something years.
Yes, ma'am.
I found this little cottage, and I'm on 100-foot of river frontage. I'm out here on the deck now looking at it. So we rebuilt the deck this last year, extended it, and we had the shed roof before. I tore that all off and put a gable roof with exposed rafters. And anyway, we spend a lot of time out here, and we've been able to entertain some, like have another couple or two over because we could socially distance. This deck is so big, And Also, we have three-wheel bicycles, so, and this little street I live on is closed on both ends. It's only 3/4 of a mile long, and there's kind of a little triangle here. You can ride bikes, so we ride our three-wheel bicycles on here. We have a golf cart, as about everybody in the neighborhood does, so we and a group of the girls and I walk. We have a walking group. So I've been very fortunate, even though when we were really locked in strict, I still had social contact because we would all meet out on the street and walk and just keep our distance from each other, but still communicate and share all that's going on, you know. So that's what we've tried to do. For Christmas about 4 years ago, we decided neither one of us needed anything, so we bought each other a storage barn. And so we've got all Gene's tools and our bikes in there and just stuff. And he likes bluegrass music, and so he's got all his music set up, so he goes out there and plays all the bluegrass music he wants to play.
I love that.
So, and my hobby is painting birdhouses, especially the ones that look like stars.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I make those that look like the Opry backdrop. And I just gave one to Rhonda Vincent as a gift for her being my new Opry sister. I got to invite her to be a member of the Opry, which I was so thrilled. I've wanted her there for a long time, so that's a thrill. And then the pandemic hit, and we haven't been able to induct her yet. So she said yesterday, I'm going to go down in history as the longest time between the invitation and the induction.
Right, yeah, right. She makes history in more than one way.
Absolutely.
And congratulations to Rhonda Vincent for that. And your birdhouses, I've seen them on Instagram and everything else, and they're gorgeous, by the way.
Yeah, I made one for Chris Jansen when he joined, and I had to hunt all over. Finally, one of my Jeep boys got on Amazon and found me a little flat-bottom boat that would fit, and I glued it on the side of the birdhouse and wrote on there, "It'll buy me a boat." And from Mark Wills, we made a ladder out of fireplace matches on the side of that birdhouse for Jacob's ladder. That's just one of my hobbies. I love birdhouses.
I love that. I love that. Now, just only a couple questions, and we'll hold you, since we didn't mean to hold you up. One thing I want to ask you about in past time, if there's somebody you could have recorded a song with back in early in your career, back in the past, that you had not recorded with, who would it have been with?
Oh my goodness. I don't really know. I did get to sing with Ernest on a record. It really wasn't in a very good key for me, but I did record on one with him. Some of my heroes, recorded my songs, like Debbie Dickens and Ernest Gill, so that was good. Gene Shepherd and I had talked about doing an album together, and we were going to call it A Pair of Jeans.
And and who would be someone today you would like to record with?
Well, Rhonda and I may do something. Again, of course, she recorded on this one. We may do something, and I don't know. I hadn't really thought about that.
I just wondered if there was somebody, because you help so many. You're such an influence and give great advice to a lot of young female singers in the country music world, and which I think is really great, because you share a lot of your knowledge, and somebody comes up to the learning tree, you do share a lot of that knowledge and experience with them. And so I just wondered if there was somebody that's in younger, that's in today's market right now, if there was somebody that you'd say, yeah, I'd like to record with them.
Well, there's several of the young girls, and like I said, I might even think about doing something in the future with them. The biggest problem is there again, the business always kind of gets involved, and so the recording contracts kind of limit you sometimes of who you can do things with. And of course, I'd still like to do something with Brenda Lee, and she was going to do something on this album with me, and then it didn't work out because they were again of a business contract. So we're still hoping one day to do something. But yeah, I'd like to do something with several of the female artists coming up.
I love that.
I'm very proud of them.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I love the fact I had to bring it up that you've been influential in a lot of singers today that they can always come to the learning tree and they get something. And I think that a lot of times in some areas, some people don't do that. And I always hear this, that you're one to help out the younger talent, and I have a lot of respect for you for doing that.
Well, when you look at it, if our business, and especially the reverence for the Opry, is going to continue, then we've got to have the young people coming in. And you've got to make them feel welcome to where they want to come in. Some of the ones that didn't grow up with a lot of influence about the Opry, I try to make sure they can know some of the stories and get that interest in it. And because I certainly don't want to see the Opry ever go down in my lifetime. We're celebrating 95 years, and there were those who worked very hard to keep it going and gave us to keep the Opry going so that I could be there. So I feel like it's not only something I want to do, but it's kind of like my duty to see that happening now. And also, Silk and somebody said to me the other day, "You have so many young friends." And I said, "I'm 80 years old. I better start making young friends or I won't have any at all."
Right. That's kind of true, but ma'am, that's because everybody loves you. That's because everybody loves and respects you. But that's true. I think the best thing you said out of something earlier was the fact that, if they don't know, you have to teach them. And I think that's a wonderful advice. The last thing I want to
I sure appreciate you giving me so much of your time and helping me promote this new album. I'm very proud of it. I'm very grateful to Don Cusic, who's a very busy, in case people don't know, my producer. He's a wonderful historian.
Ma'am, Miss Seeley, Miss Jeannie, you faded out on that. Could you repeat that, please, dear?
Oh, I said he.
No, repeat who? Repeat who, ma'am, please.
Yeah, speaking about my producer, Don Cusic, he's a wonderful historian, has written several books, and he's a very busy music professor at Belmont University. So I was so thrilled and surprised and thrilled that he wanted to do this project with me. He's highly respected, and I'm just very grateful to Don for giving me this opportunity, and of course to Mike Kerr for putting me on his label. Who gets a new album on a major label for her 80th birthday?
Well, if anybody deserves that, ma'am, definitely is. I don't say people deserve things, but you've definitely earned your keep and more in the music industry, not just country music. So I definitely say if anybody should have it on her 80th birthday, it's definitely without a doubt, it's Miss Jeannie Seeley for sure. And I know you are on all social media, and I suggest everybody go check it out. Sundays, 12 to 4 Eastern time. Check out Sundays with Seeley. Go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, on Sundays.
Yes, ma'am, on Sundays. Sundays with Seeley, I think. Oh, kind of right on right there on that part of it. And I love that. Is there anything you want to say to your fans, ma'am?
I just appreciate all of them that have stuck with me through the years. I appreciate you so much. And anybody that just discover me, get in touch with me. And as he said on my social media, and we'll stay in touch, okay?
Ma'am, please, I hope you come back on again. You're a phone call away always, ma'am. It is a true pleasure. The Lifebox Media Channel had the pleasure of interviewing, like I said, not just a country music legend, but I mean a real nice lady, talented, and a country music treasure for sure. Miss Jeannie Seely, thank you. It has been such a pleasure to have you on today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
You have a wonderful... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I said, come see us when you can.
We definitely will, ma'am. You have a safe, wonderful day, and thank you so much. You take care.
Bye-bye now.
Fox Media Channel, we are out.